President Obama, I'm John Perry. I want to ask Hillary Clinton last Sunday, what did they ever do with the Taft-Hartley Act? That is the only reason RCA World will ever buy Maytag, so they shut the competition down.
Well, look, the fact is that we have had an assault on labor for a lot of years now. Not just Taft-Hartley, but the way we have interpreted our labor laws has made it more and more difficult for working people to come together. In fact, I just met before this meeting with some of the nurses in Fieldhouse Hospital. Many of you know the story, but this is a story that's repeated in Illinois. I used to have to deal with it when I was in the state legislature and chairman of the healthcare committee. You've got a situation where nurses are being forced to deal with so many patients that not only do they get exhausted, but patient care suffers. And objective studies will tell you that there's some optimal nurse-to-patient ratios that will improve care and ultimately save costs for everybody. But unfortunately, oftentimes nurses, unless they're able to organize themselves into a union and get a collective bargaining agreement, are going to have a tough shot. Well, that's not just true in nursing. That's true across the board. So a couple of things we can do. I'm a supporter of the Employee Free Choice Act, which basically says that if a majority of the employees check your card saying they want a union, then that union is going to be recognized. So that you can't stall for years and years and blow it on the strategies to prevent folks from going to the union. I also think that it's important for us to get people on the National Labor Relations Board who are sympathetic and understand the struggles that workers are going through day to day. There are a range of laws that I think we can strengthen under an Obama administration that will just even up the balance. But employers create jobs, and we want to make sure that we create a pro-business, thriving environment in Iowa and all across the country. I'm somebody who believes in the free enterprise system. I believe in profit motive. I think it's great that people are creating new businesses and new jobs and new industries. But one of the things that America's always stood for is that if you work hard, then you should be able to support a family. You should be able to advance. You should be able to be part of the middle class. And we don't want an economy in which only a sliver of people are doing very, very well. And the rest of the folks are seeing their prospects decline. One last point I'll make, because you mentioned Maytag. One of the reasons that we're seeing businesses move overseas is not just because wages overseas are so low because they can't organize unions. That's part of the reason. But part of the reason, which is shameful, is we oftentimes actually give tax breaks to companies that are moving overseas. And my basic theory is that if we're going to give a tax break to a company, we should give a tax break to a company that's investing right here in Dubuque. Why would we reward companies? We may not be able to always stop because capital can move wherever it wants, but we sure as heck don't have to reward for disinvesting from our own communities. Okay, yes? Here, go ahead and get the mic. I want to make sure.
I have health insurance, I'll be okay. The FA-22 system costs our country $1.2 billion a year. The GAO, as well as military experts, say that funding should be cut so that we can meet social needs of our people. Would you commit to doing that if you were elected? Thank you.
I will commit to doing a thorough review of our military hardware expenditures when I come into office, because like other areas of government, there's some things that in which our money's well spent, and there's other things that are there just because somebody started a program and never evaluated whether it's something we really need. Our military needs have changed fundamentally after the Cold War. And Iraq, I think, indicates the fact that the biggest burden that we have on our military right now is not military hardware. It's actually our personnel. The fact that we've got 3-4 rotations for our troops, the fact that we're not adequately dealing with their care when they come home. I put in a bill last week that would specifically address the problems of Walter Reed, but the problems go beyond Walter Reed. Veterans are so frustrated just to get their medical records out of the Department of Defense over to the VA system so they can start applying for disability. And that's not something that's hard to fix. It's just a matter of investing in the systems so that electronically those records are automatically transferred. So there are a range of areas where we've got to make those investments. And if there are weapon systems that are not part of our security strategy today, then we need to begin to phase those down, take that money, reinvest some of it making sure that we're caring for our veterans properly, and then using other potential savings to invest in various human needs. Now, the one thing that we are going to have to do is we're going to have to spend some money also dealing with the depletion of equipment that has occurred as a consequence of Iraq. The National Guard units have seen their equipment decimated because a lot of it was shipped to Iraq along with them. It's in Baghdad right now, has not returned. We're going to have to spend some money replenishing the equipment that has been destroyed as a consequence of this war. Let's start back.
In Iraq, we are seeing survival rates more than 5 times as they relate to deaths.
Right.
And as a result, we're inundating the VA system. In addition to that, many of the VA professionals are Vietnam-era people who are about to retire, and it takes 2-3 years for them to know the right system and language to help these people. We've got these 2 problems coming together. We need to be hiring people now to learn those new systems so that they're prepared for this inundation of people. How do you want to respond to that? And is there any current legislation you're aware of that's addressing it?
Well, there's current legislation. I'm sponsoring some of it. Other members of the Veterans Committee are sponsoring it. One thing immediately we have to do is actually boost this year's allocation. We've proposed an additional $2.9 billion to fill the gaps that we've been reading about at Walter Reed, to deal with the system in terms of keeping medical records, to provide for the hiring of counselors who are going to be necessary for those who are coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder, to address the fact that the shameful situation that veterans are 7 times more likely to be homeless than other citizens, which is directly attributable to the fact that they're not getting good transition services when they come home. And by the way, it's particularly important for us to be providing those services to National Guard and reservists, because if they're in an active duty unit, typically, they may leave the war theater, but they're still in the military. The transition process is not as abrupt. You've got a National Guardsman who one day is in Baghdad seeing his friends get shot, and then the next day he's back home in Dubuque. And if nobody's there to help with that adjustment, that can lead to some significant problems over the long term. So, more money, but we also have a series of bills. If you're interested in some legislation, you can get on our website, and I'll give you the bill numbers, and we'd love people to be supportive of this legislation, pressuring your legislators.